Good afternoon. We call our Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order December the 16th, 2024 at 2:36 p.m. I want to ask the board members, have all board members reviewed our minutes from our November the 18th, 2024 meeting? And if so, can we get a motion to approve? Okay, it has been motioned and second to approve our minutes from our meeting on November the 18th, 2024. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes have been approved. Our meeting statement of powers read. The Augusta Board of Zoning Appeals hears and makes decisions on applications for variances in accordance with powers granted under Section 1-4-88 of the Augusta, Georgia Code. The applicant must provide any scale drawings or plot plans, including all dimensions, pictures, or any other supporting information at this meeting. Only information presented at this meeting may be used in any future hearings regarding this petition. Any person affected by the board's decision may file an appeal with the Superior Court of Richmond County, Georgia, within 30 days of the decision of the board. The meeting will be conducted in accordance with the board's bylaws and rules of procedure and the latest edition of Robert's Rules of Order, unless otherwise directed by the majority of the board in session at the time. A minimum of 10 minutes shall be afforded for the presentation of data, evidence, and opinions on each side of a petition. If more than 10 minutes is afforded to one side, then an equal amount of time shall be afforded to the other side. The board encourages participation in this hearing, and there's no restriction on who may address the board within the allotted time. But the board asks that public comments be brief, on subject, and directed to the board, not to any individual or group. All right, staff.
The first item on the agenda is BZA 24-31, and it is a petition.
Madam Chairman, I think we're supposed to elect officers.
So we're gonna do that at the end, please, if you look at the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, we have that at
I
the
thought
end.
that was the first order of business.
No, sir, we're gonna do it at the end. We're gonna follow our agenda as we have it in front of us, please.
All right, so item number 2, 24-31, is a petition by Estelle Smith requesting variances from Section 8-4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance in order to reduce the front setback on Bird Road from the 30 feet to 23 feet, to reduce the rear setback from the required 10 feet to 5 feet, and to increase the maximum accessory building area from 614 square feet to 1,700 square feet in order to construct a storage building on the property located at 3617 Bird Road. This property is zoned R1, one-family residential. Staff will present.
Kevin Boyd, a Development Services Manager. In this case, BZA 2431 involves 0.47 acre tract located at 3617 Bird Road. The property is currently zoned R1, one-family residential, and situated in the Bird Howard neighborhood. The applicant seeks a variance to reduce the front setback from 30 feet to 23 feet, reduce the rear yard setback from 10 feet to 5, and increase the maximum building floor area from the permitted 614 to 1,700 square feet to allow for construction of a new garage building to store vehicles, ATVs, golf courses, carts, and this is all coming from the applicant's letter of intent. The lot is approximately 100 feet wide, 200 feet deep, being an average lot size of existing properties in the R1 zone for this neighborhood. There is an existing 200 square foot accessory storage building located on the property, and the applicant wants it to remain on the property. The applicant proposes to construct an additional 1,500 square foot accessory garage on the property. Section 8-4B of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance requires accessory buildings to have a minimum 10-foot rear yard setback. The proposed location of the additional 1,500 square foot accessory building will encroach in the required rear setback by 5 feet. Section 8-4C of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance requires a carport attached or detached garage to conform to the front setback requirements of a principal residential structure of 30 feet. And this proposed building will have an encroachment of 7 feet in the front yard. Section 8-4E of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance states that the minimum, or the maximum rather, total gross floor area of all accessory buildings on a lot shall be based upon the lot which they are located. For lots 10,000 square feet or larger, the maximum size is the greater of 500 square feet or 3%, whichever is greater. And with this, this will allow for a maximum total gross floor area of accessory buildings at 614 square feet. And the applicant is requesting for 1,700 square feet. The applicant states that the sole purpose of this additional 1,500 square foot accessory garage building is to provide a safe area to store expensive motorized vehicles, preventing theft and damage from the elements. The accessory building will not have electrical service. Approval of this request does not exceed the 30% lot coverage allowed in the R1 zone. And at the time of completion of this report, no inquiries were received by staff concerning this variance application. And that concludes staff's presentation.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Estelle Smith, you've heard staff presentation. If you're present, please come to the podium over here. When you get to the podium, please state your name and your address, and of course, then you can share with the board any information you would like to share at this time.
All right. Estelle Smith, 3617 Bird Road, Augusta, Georgia, 30906.
Okay.
Well, yes, the reason that I wanted to get that additional building is to start have some historic vehicles, which is sentimental to me and my husband, and I do have some recreational vehicles also. But I do see, upon me looking, we never had a big building before. I have a smaller shed where I store stuff in. We didn't know the process. We purchased the building, which I can't get my money back. I went through every trial and tribulation I was asked to do as far as site plans and stuff like that to get this thing moving. We had already started digging in my yard, which we hadn't did anything else. I just got a toe-up yard from what we had already started doing it. Had I known this, or we had known this, we would never even touch the yard or did anything. You know, once I got the paperwork from Marvin Griffin Road and I was aware of it, we would have never even did nothing. But we didn't know, so we had started on our own doing it until I found out when they reviewed it and told us that we couldn't do anything else and we had to go through the variance process. That's when we stopped with anything in the yard.
Okay. Do we have any objectors to this particular variance request in the audience? Okay. All right, board members, you've heard from staff and you've heard from Ms. Estelle Smith. At this time, does board members have any comments or concerns? While we're doing that, I would like for staff to give us their recommendation also into record.
All right. The Planning and Development Department is recommending denial of the application as presented. It does not meet the minimum criteria set forth for granting variances as established in Section 33 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance as amended.
All right, thanks. Ms. Smith, let me ask you a question. Did you consider reorienting this particular structure on another part of the property? Have you considered that?
I mean, if I was to turn it around, the only thing I can do, because the way my house is made, like say, my house is made where you all at, I want to put the building here, which would be facing me if I was to pull anything in. The part where the one door and that one is would be facing the road, which I do have my house fenced all the way around, and I do intend on getting me a privacy fence to put around it anyway, because I'm on Gracewood property and they got all that stuff back there. So it's nothing by it other than another house that you can't see, you know, beside me, and another house over that way, but woods in front of me. So it's not.
Okay, so explain the orientation of this building. So from the front of your property, what would we see if this structure was there?
Okay, if you're coming up to the fence, when you're looking at it now, that's where the building is gonna go at. You're gonna see that one door, the side where the one door and that window is at.
Okay,
And then the 3 E's is gonna be facing my house that way, which they're not showing the house with us.
okay. Okay, Board Member Miles?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing?
All right.
Look, I'm a little bit of concern. I just kind of looking at, you already have a 200 square foot building on the property already, right?
Yes, that sits back.
And now you're looking to get another 1,500 square foot with the ordinance on provide for 600 square foot. Your lot size is really 2.5 times what is allotted for the house, the lot. You couldn't get a smaller building and still accomplish what you want to accomplish?
I mean, I have to go back to the people that's already paid my money. It's about me getting my money back or whatever, and going through that channel. That's what I was trying to do before I even got here. With this process, I got money out there that's, it's just a mess.
Well, I'm sorry,
But
ma'am.
if I had to do it that way, I'll purchase another building, what size do I need to get?
Well, I'm quite sure the planning people here at the board here will be able to tell you what size building you can get that would fit your property and keep you in compliance with the ordinances.
And Ms. Smith, I think that staff probably can share some information here, and we're in the season of trying to do the neighborly thing and work with you, and of course, I think it would be to your detriment if this got denied, because there are certain processes that have to be in place for you to come back again. So I guess if we can get staff, she just asked a question about the size of the business, so we're gonna refer to our director.
On the first page, I don't know if you should have got a copy of the report, but the maximum allowed is 614 square feet under the current zoning ordinance. So 614 square feet is what the maximum, and that would have you avoid going to BZA, coming to BZA. There are instances where it is reduced. The other challenge with the application, if I may address the applicant, is where you want to locate. It becomes on the same front plane as the house, and it should be recessed so that it doesn't overtake the overall residential character of the street. With this aluminum building right up there at the front, same, front as the residence, it overshadows the residence.
I understand what you're saying, but if you're passing by, I know what you're saying with the building may look like an eyesore, but if you're passing by, you're not gonna really see it unless you're just staring at it. I guess it's just not gonna even be, it's gonna be visible in a sense, but the way my house is made is, I don't know.
Yeah, the way they've drawn this, it's actually going to sit a little bit in front of the house. So
It's not gonna be in front of it.
I'm gonna come show
According
you.
to your site plan, Ms. Smith, if you look at the alignment, and she can show it to you, if you look at the alignment, it's come out before actually the line of your
This
current dwelling.
is the front of your house right here.
Okay.
This little line right here. And then if you follow this line straight out, see, that's the front of the building you're proposing. So this building is going to sit in front of your residence. It'll protrude out further than the front part of your house. Because that's,
Even with the fence?
and then you got to remember the fence, you can't put that fence all the way up to the road. The fence has to stop at the,
But the fence is already there, is what I'm saying.
yeah, the chain link fence is pre-existing.
Okay.
But if you said you might put a privacy fence in. So, but one thing at a time. First things first, this is the location that they have on your new shed. They labeled this the person who did your plans, and they're gonna have it protrude out past your house.
No, it won't go past it if they pull the picture up with it.
No, but this is what they're going to use in order to situate it on the lot. So when they come in with the truck, they're gonna pull a tape. They're gonna measure to this part, not back here where your house is. They're gonna pull a line to here, and that's where they're gonna put that foundation and the building start right there.
Ms. Smith,
It just still seems confusing.
let me say this to you, Ms. Smith,
Okay.
and the board members they'll weigh in on this, but I believe it has to be up to you that you may want to consider withdrawing this without prejudice, so you can work with our staff and then come to some type of agreement on what best to serve you, and then be within the guidelines, or then if we have to give a variance, you come back. Besides, the other option would be for the board members to deny it, and then you have to wait, 6 months before you can come back. So we're trying to give you a way out here, that, if you will consider withdrawing it without prejudice, have a board member have to make, we have to get you to agree to that. And so that you can try to work through this with them, because it seems like you didn't have the necessary knowledge prior to you starting down here. So it's an element of confusion now involved. And so, of course, we want to try to alleviate some of that confusion for you to be able to work with our staff.
Okay,
Madam Chair. Ms. Smith, may I ask a question as well?
yes,
On your scope of details, you listed that there would be a 30 by 50 foot 4-inch pad. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am?
yes,
And then a 6-inch at the lift location?
yes.
Okay. And then you also stated that this would not have electrical in there?
No, it's
Is
not.
the lift electric powered?
No,
Okay. I would maybe consider talking to staff about that as well, just making sure that if you do have an intention of putting any electric into this, that you're very transparent with them, because there are situations where you might need an extra meter for a building of this size, and I don't want you to be surprised by that either. So if you do withdraw with prejudice, without prejudice, you might consider discussing that as well.
okay.
All right, thanks, board member.
Okay. Ms. Smith,
Yes,
in my personal opinion, you would be better off reorientated the building to where it ran along your back property line instead of your front property line. I think it would be an easier time for you. Madam Director, we can't pass it with a reorientation without it being re-advertised, can we?
The request wouldn't change necessarily. The proper channels for advertising it have been met. So if they had come and say, we will reorient this building and rotate it clockwise this many degrees, the advertising would still be sufficient.
So we could prove it if she decided to reorientate the building.
I have,
Madam Chairman,
Okay. We're going to ask everybody to hold tight. Mr. Brigham, I think did you finish your question?
I'm trying to find out an answer to my question first. I don't know if
And who are you asking the question to, Board Member Brigham?
I'm asking to the director.
The advertising requirements have been met, even if you want to change the orientation.
Okay, so we could reorientate it if she would be agreeable to it
That is possible, yes, sir.
and not have to going through all of this again,
Yes, sir.
is my understanding.
That would be correct.
Okay, then Ms. Smith,
yes,
would you be willing to reorientate your pad to where it runs along beside the back property line and set farther back in your property, your building? You don't have to go back and get a different building. You could use this building. It's just gonna be placed different on your lot.
okay, I don't have a problem with that. So would I have to need to turn it a different way, is what they're
Yes,
asking?
ma'am, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, we going, hold on, Board Member Miles. We're going to go to Mr. Boyd, then we're going to go to, we have, y'all working me today. We have Board Member Moore, and then we're going to go to Board Member Miles.
And so I do want to just provide some additional insight. We've been working with Ms. Smith very diligently in the past 3 months to get the site plan that represented the nature of our request. We talked about sizes, we talked about positioning. We've had these discussions, and it sort of hit a wall because she was committed, given the fact that she's already made that investment. And we talked about her going back to see if the third-party group would refund her money or, take another avenue. And we still kept coming back to where we are now. So just want to advise, if she does reposition it, given the size of this structure, it may cause encroachments in other areas. So you're not going to be fully removed from the encroachment aspect unless she significantly reduces the size of the structure. And that's all I have to say.
All right, thanks, Mr. Board. All right, Board Member Martin.
I just want to make a motion that she withdraw without prejudice. Okay. I just wanted to motion that she withdraw without prejudice.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I have a question about that. If, this is for the staff, if the applicant withdraws, do we effectively have to start over for the applicant? Is it better for this board to consider a postponement for 30 days or to the next meeting? How would a withdrawal here affect the applicant?
A withdrawal at this point would allow her to just come back without any new fees or anything like that. In the event that she tabled it, that just means even if she wasn't ready in 30 days, we'd have to come back and say, this particular item has been postponed because the applicant isn't ready. So withdrawal without prejudice just holds her spot in her existing fees for advertisement, so to speak. So, yeah. But I would say this, if I'm allowed, Chairwoman, we need to get the calculations right. Even though the advertisement covers it, for her sake, before she moves forward, you know, what I would have liked to seen is like the reorientation with the 10 feet off of the rear for the accessory structure, and then that measurement for the front and the side, and then the separation requirement between the structure and then the side property line. Because at this point, in order for her to move forward, we don't want her to put something on the ground and come back and say, well, it was too vague for us to make a true decision, and this was our best guess. So a table or a withdrawal without prejudice would work.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Board Member Morton to withdraw without prejudice. Do we have a second?
Could I have a question that I had prior to this that never got answered?
Okay, go ahead, Board Member Miles.
Thank you. All right. My main concern, ma'am, I know what you're trying to do, but I'm still concerned, and most of my questions were answered by the board and the staff here. I'm concerned about even if you reorientate the building, they would still have to come out and do some precise measurements to see whether you can get that size of that building
Yes.
on the property. That 1,600 foot, 200 and some percent is real big for that neighborhood. And once we do one of these, we're kind of setting a precedent for the rest of the neighborhoods. And I don't know whether we're in mind with that. And I would hope that you would reconsider the size of your building to kind of be a little bit more in confirmation with the ordinances. Because the 1,600 foot from 600 to 1,600 foot is a large building to put on that size of that property. And I just want to make sure that you work with them and see what you can put in there before you do anything different. And when you come back, you make sure that you've considered them and they'll come out and talk to you and talk to you to get you in confirmation to the ordinances before you come back again. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Board Member Miles. Board Member Brigham, I think.
I'm on second.
Oh, he seconded?
Yeah.
Okay. It has been motion and second to withdraw this variance request. Without prejudice. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and we have Board Member Trulock and Shivers who are voting by phone. All right, thank you, ma'am. It has been withdrawn. The staff will get with you, and we thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, ma'am. Have a great one.
Okay, you too.
All right. Item number 2 on the agenda is BZA case 24-32, and it is a petition by Southern State Builders on behalf of Lee Donahue requesting a variance from Section 8 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to reduce the rear setback from the required 25 feet to the 12.5 feet in order to allow for a covered porch addition on the property located at 5121 Mill Place, and the property is zoned R1E, one family residential. Staff will present.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Catterton, and I am the Development Services Administrator for Planning and Development. This case involves a 0.21 acre tract that's located at 512 One Mill Place. The property is currently zoned R1E and is situated in the One Mill Place subdivision. According to Augusta Richmond Tax Assessor Office records, the 2,189 square foot residence was constructed in 1987, and the applicant is requesting a variance to construct a new covered back porch. This involves Section 88C of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, which requires a minimum rear setback of 20% of the lot depth in the R1 zone, and this calculates to a rear setback of 24 feet. The applicant is proposing to construct a new 313 square foot covered porch at the rear of the house. The applicant is stating that the current porch is going to be uncovered and exposed to weather causing damage. I'm so sorry. The applicant stated that the current porch is uncovered and exposed to the weather, which is causing damage to the house. The new addition will make full use of the outdoor area and prevent further deterioration of the house. Based on the survey plat, which was provided in the application, the property has a 15-foot sanitary sewer easement along the rear property line. Augusta Utilities has reviewed the site plan and has stated that the city's minimum design standards do not allow any permanent structure to be placed within 25 feet of the county-owned water sewer line. The property is not located in the Somerville Historic District, and at the time of completion of this report, there have been no inquiries that were received by staff that was concerning this variance application. And that concludes staff's presentation at this time.
Okay, thank you. Southern State Builders. When you get to the microphone, please state your name, your address, and that you have the authority to speak on behalf of Lee Donahue.
All right. My name is Jonathan Lewis with Southern State Builders. I'm here on behalf of Lee Donahue for 512 One Mill Place.
Okay.
One thing I just wanted to talk about with the findings from the staff report is it's showing that there's a 24-foot setback for that area for permanent structures, but there's the house at 512 One Mill Place and the one next door. Both of those structures are within the minimum build line already if it's 24 feet. I believe our plat shows that one corner of 512 is 16 feet. So what I was requesting is, I know that they denied, Augusta Utilities denied it being inside that easement, but if there was a way for us to reduce the structure size of the covered porch and be outside of that 15 feet, would that be something that we could do to compromise?
Staff, you heard the applicant question.
Yep. So a couple of things to take into consideration, if I may address some of the comments the applicant has made. This residence was constructed in 1987, so portions of the ordinance are going to, this home is going to predate the ordinance. So that's some of the reason why you have that conflict there. The other thing is, Augusta Utilities has said 20 feet off of the easement, which is different from the building line.
Right.
So we're taking those differently. If you were in here asking for 20 feet off the building line, Augusta Utilities said they would consider it on a case-by-case basis. So what I would say is, you said 15 feet, but are you talking about 15 feet off the minimum building line or 15 feet off of the easement?
Well, on our plat, it's just showing there was a 15 feet sewer easement and minimum build line. So I guess my question would be is, if we didn't exceed the existing structure where it's at right now, I guess the existing structure now is within that 20 feet easement or 20-foot easement from Augusta Utilities. So my question would be, if we reduce the covered porch to not exceed the existing structure, would that be okay?
In my interpretation, if they put the covered porch over the existing only the existing structure, then they would just be going over roof with it. And I would say that that is something that we should be able to work with. However, I would caution that if you're going to make a motion in that way, then add a caveat that I have to clear it with the Augusta Utilities Department.
Board Member Mooney? Let me ask this question. Do we have any objectors to this petition request? Okay, go ahead, Board Member Mooney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Director, if I'm understanding Mr. Lewis correctly, he's talking about, looks like in that bottom corner, there's, looks like a either 15.4 or 16.4 feet. What I'm understanding is as long as he doesn't break that 16.4 foot plane along that easement, is that what I'm hearing? In other words, you would take that corner of the covered porch in just a little bit so that you don't break that plane? I'm getting a nod from the applicant.
Yeah.
Yep.
As far as for me, what I was saying, as long as we brought that structure back, right now it's 20 feet, which puts us like 2 feet, 4 inches over that.
Right.
If we brought that back 5 feet, we'd still be a less distance than what the existing structure is currently.
Thank you.
Okay.
Would, yeah, okay.
Now, I will say that the existing deck there now is only 10 feet, I believe, is what it is. So we are extending that deck to make it larger. So when I was saying existing structure, it's talking about the actual house, not the deck that's currently there.
Well, in that case, that's a different thing, because the existing deck as labeled doesn't protrude or extend past the rear plane of the house. And the proposed is everything after the rear plane of the house, correct?
That's right.
So when I said existing deck, I went off of what the existing deck was shown. I'm not gonna say I'm comfortable going any further than that at this point, just because I want to talk to utilities and make sure that I collaborate well with my colleagues.
No, I understand.
Madam Chair?
Can we have staff recommendation?
At this time, staff would recommend that we table this until next month so that we can speak to utilities to get an accurate calculation.
And if I could just wrap up that line of questioning.
Okay,
If Ms. Catterton maybe could indicate, I believe you were working on the project. Has that discussion come up with utilities at any point before about breaking that plane as it exists currently? Or is that new information that utilities would need to hear?
We had recommended since the start of October that they'd reach out. So it would have to be new information for utilities to hear, but I know that they have been in correspondence as of, I believe, last week. Okay. So that's something that would need to be addressed, but
I just didn't want to make this recommendation if they've already thought about this and said no, and in your experience.
That idea hasn't, but I know the conversation has been initiated, if that makes sense.
All right, that's my questioning. Thank you.
all right, thanks, Board Member Mooney. Board Member Brigham?
Sir, you might be better for, let you withdraw it without prejudice, because it's no telling you won't be able to get anything resolved in the next 30 days.
Okay.
If you're willing, I'll make a motion to let you be withdrawn without prejudice, and you can bring it back when you get it worked out.
Can I get a little clarification as far as what we're asking the easement or the utilities company for?
I don't think we asked him anything
Okay.
for.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not saying.
You're wanting to stay out of that utilities easement at all costs, is what I think you're being told.
Correct, and I think they said that they would be willing to reduce it to the 20 feet.
Well, I think
What I was
that's a
asking is, could we
conversation
stay
you
with?
need to have with them
Right,
that we can't have any control over.
okay.
They may and may not.
So I'm not sure if you received a copy of the correspondence from Augusta Utilities, but what they stated, and we'll make sure to give you a copy, is that if requested, Augusta Utilities will look at reducing that to a 20-foot on a case-by-case basis, but it is not guaranteed. And it does appear that the new addition would be inside of the current sewer easement and that the request would be denied by Augusta Utilities. So did you see that?
I saw it on the staff report, yes, yes.
So our recommendation is that you table it until we can get a firm commitment from both parties, the applicant and Augusta Utilities, as to the maximum amount they would be willing to give in order for them to accomplish this porch extension.
So motioned.
Second.
Madam Chair, the director think with Christmas holidays, we can get it resolved in the next month.
The next meeting is the third week of January. Yes, I think we would be able to do it.
Well, this is third week of December.
It's 30 days.
Yeah.
It's 30 days, so
I just-
a little more than 30, so, yeah. Yeah. No, they're pretty good at responding, so, especially if we hit a number. If you go in and we say 15 feet, as opposed to an arbitrary number or a number too low.
Okay.
So the more specific we can be, the better the response.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna have confidence in the staff will be able to work this out for the applicant in a timely manner. So it has been motion and second, I believe, to withdraw this, or to table this variance request. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Amber, what was the vote? Because I can't hear. Okay. All right, thank you, sir. All right, have a great one. Mhm. It was Turner, I thought.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure, when we get ready to do the minutes, we want to be able to hear it or say we got it. All right, we are at application number 4, item number 4, sorry. Item number 4 is BZA-24-36, and it is a petition by Medicine Wheel LLC on behalf of Nicholas and Pamela Uros, requesting a variance from Section 8-1 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to allow them to increase the rear yard height of a masonry wall from 6 feet to 7 feet, and it's located at 2248 Cumming Road, and it is zoned R1, which is one-family residential.
Rachel Martin, Planning Projects Coordinator for Planning and Development. The request concerns a 2.09 acre parcel situated on Cumming Road and located in the Somerville Historic District. The applicant is seeking approval of a variance to construct a 7-foot-high masonry wall along the rear property line and bring an existing 7-foot-high masonry wall along the eastern side of the property into zoning compliance. The lot is approximately 220 feet wide and 410 feet deep. The property entirely backs up to the Reed Memorial Presbyterian Church. A 6-foot chain link fence currently exists along the rear property line. The proposed sections of the masonry wall will measure 6 feet 6 inches in height, while the columns will measure 7 feet. The height and design of the proposed masonry wall seeks to match an existing wall section located along the eastern side of the property. Approval of this request would increase the maximum height of the masonry wall by 1 foot. A 10-foot drainage and utility easement exists near the rear lot line of the property. The applicants do not intend to encroach into the easement. The property is situated in the Somerville Historic District. Any new construction or exterior improvements are subject to Historic Preservation Commission review and approval. At the time of completion of this report, no inquiries were received by staff concerning this variance application, and that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we please have Medicine Wheel on behalf of Nicholas and Pamela, I guess, Uros? All right, when you get to the microphone, please state your name, give us your address, and that you have the authority to speak on behalf of Nicholas and Pamela Uros concerning this variance request.
Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Stubbs Ward. I live at 190 Winburn Avenue in Athens, Georgia, and I am here on behalf of Nicholas and Pamela Uros.
All right, you've heard staff presentation, and you've kind of heard the rest came before you, so now it's your opportunity to share with the board whatever you would like to share with us concerning this variance request.
Well, thank you for your time. We are just proposing to match an existing, beautiful existing old masonry wall along the eastern property line. And their property backs up to the Reed Memorial Presbyterian Church, and that's why they'd like some additional screening.
Okay. Do we have any objectors in the audience? Okay, can we have staff's recommendation?
Yes. In regards to this application, I need to make a staff correction on the criteria. Number one, they don't actually meet the criteria, but what we wanted to take into account was the fact that it borders a large parking lot. So that is actually a correction. They don't meet all of the criteria for the variance, but they do have an unusual situation with the size of the parking lot being immediately adjacent to the residence. So that being said, staff, planning and development staff is recommending approval of the variance request with the following conditions. Number one, approval of a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Commission is required prior to purchasing or installing any type of fence. And number two, the applicant must provide design plans stamped and signed, and those need to be presented with their HPC application and prior to pulling the building permit, which is required for the fence. And that concludes staff's recommendation.
Okay, Lauren, you've heard staff recommendation. Do you agree with staff's recommendation?
Yes, we'll be here on Friday for the COA.
Okay.
Madam
sorry,
Chair, I
Thursday.
recommend approval of this.
Second.
It's been motion and second for approval. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Amber, you got the ones. All right, you have your approval. The letter will go in the mail to you on this week.
All right.
All right,
thank you
thanks.
so
Have a
much.
great one.
Have a good day.
All right, the next item on the agenda is item number 5, BZA 24-37, and it is a petition by Nathaniel Mason and Sheila Smith on behalf of James Smith requesting variances for section 8-4 and 8-1 of the comprehensive zoning ordinance in order to reduce the front setback on Breeze Hill Drive from the required 25 feet to 4 feet and to reduce the side setback from the required 10 feet to 4 feet to construct a garage and legitimize installation of a 6-foot tall fence in the front yard where a 4-foot is required on the property located at 2948 Glen Hills Drive. The property is zoned single-family residential R1A. Staff will present.
Kevin Boyd, Development Services Manager. This case involves a 0.24 acre tract located at the corner of Glen Hills Drive and Breeze Hill Drive. The property is currently zoned R1A, one family residential, and is situated in the Breeze Hill Plantation subdivision. According to Augusta Richmond County Tax Assessor's records, the 1,364 square foot residence was constructed in 1987. The applicants seek multiple variances to construct a garage and legitimize installation of an existing 6-foot high portion of wooden fence. Section 8-8 of the comprehensive zoning ordinance requires a minimum front setback of 30 feet for a structure along minor and local streets. The required front setback is reduced to 25 feet if the right-of-way measures 60 feet or wider. Breeze Hill Drive has a right-of-way width of approximately 66 feet at variable widths. Section 8-8B of the comprehensive zoning ordinance requires a minimum 10-foot side setback for lots measuring 70 feet or greater in the R1 zone. Section 8-1 of the comprehensive zoning ordinance requires a minimum fence height of 4 feet within the required front yard setback. The applicant seeks to reduce the front yard setback along Breeze Hill Drive from 25 feet to 4 feet. This represents an 84% reduction, and it reduces the side setback from 10 feet to 4 feet, which represents a 60% reduction, rather. The applicants recently removed a 10 by 10 square foot structure or storage building, sorry, from the property. The building was situated adjacent to the location of the proposed garage and measure approximately 7 feet from the front property line according to City of Augusta's GIS imagery. The applicant states that the new building will be used to store tools and personal belongings. The pictures provided by the applicants clearly shows that a concrete foundation was recently poured for the new building. There were no record of any permitting with that foundation construction. The applicant's request to maintain an existing 6-foot high portion of the privacy fence installed adjacent to Breeze Hill Drive. The original fence was installed several years ago, but suffered extensive hurricane damage and was recently repaired. Based on the City of Augusta GIS imagery, portions of the fence appear to be located within the street right-of-way, which isn't consistent with city codes. And at the time of completion of the staff report, there are no inquiries received to staff concerning this variance application. This concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, thanks. Nathaniel Mason and Sheila Smith. When you get to the microphone, please state your address, your name and address, and that you have the authority to speak on behalf of James E. Smith concerning this variance request.
I am James E. Smith, 2948 Glen Hills Drive.
My name is Sheila Smith, 2948 Glen Hills Drive is my address. Nathaniel Mason is not here. This is Mr. Smith himself.
Okay. All right, you all heard the what staff shared with us concerning this variance request. At this time, you have the right to share with us, the board, whatever you would like to concerning your request.
Okay. I just wanted to say the existing fence was there over 20 years ago. We have removed trees alongside of Breeze Hill Drive that the reason you see the fence now is because the trees were really covering it. And we removed those trees to make the property more attractive and have more curb appeal. So our fence receives lots of compliments from everyone in our neighborhood. And as far as the section that you say in the front that is 6 feet or should be 4 feet, it's really not in the front of the house, it's beside the house. It does face Glen Hills Drive, but it's covering our backyard. The whole privacy fence is covering our backyard. It was there so to deter people with children coming through the yard and going to the schools across the street and up the road. When they walk going to school, they were cutting through the backyard. When my husband was there years ago with his previous wife who passed, God bless her soul, but he's been in the house for over 20 years, and the fence was there almost the entire time. And so I guess the repairs of the fence was just that. It was already there, and the only additions were just repairing the fence. And particularly when the storm did come through, it blew it down, and he put it back up because we did not know that it was encroaching on any ordinances or anything that was wrong. But the main portion of the petition was so we could get the garage there on that slab. We did not know that there would have to be a permit to, this is all new to us. We didn't know there had to be a permit to put something in our backyard because everything would be enclosed in that backyard area. And so that's the reason for the petitions. So we.
Okay, can we have staff's recommendation?
The Planning and Development staff is recommending denial of the application as it does not meet all of the requirements of the of Section 33 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance as established. But I would like your permission, Chairwoman, to ask a couple clarifying questions.
That's fine, Director.
On the side where the bay windows are, has that portion been enclosed with a fence?
No.
No,
And so the fence kind of terminates right there along the side still?
Right at the corner.
Yeah, okay. I went to Glen Hill, so I know people used to cut through there. So I'm very familiar with the area. But I was trying to recall, and I don't think there was a fence, and there's no intention to put a fence on that side either?
On which side?
On the side where the bay window is?
Well, we have two bay windows.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the bay window side closest to Glen Hills Elementary.
no,
No,
Okay. All right, so not the front one, I'm talking about the side one.
side.
no.
Right, so the fence kind of just goes out from the right plane, and then it turns left, and that's pretty much the end of it. It doesn't completely enclose,
No.
No,
so it's still open on the side. Okay, all right. So with that being said, they don't meet all of the conditions of the ordinance. However, they are a double frontage lot. And with that double frontage lot and the fact that they have the middle school that's right across the street diagonal, they do have a challenge with the cut through. It's always been there, and I'm not gonna tell my age, but since they built Glen Hills Middle, you would see droves of children coming across, even with their parents. So I understand why it's there, and so with that being said, they don't meet the requirements, but we would recommend that we approve a 4-foot fence from the front plane of the house out towards the intersection of Glen Hills Drive. And then we would also recommend that the fence height be 6 feet on the portion of the lot that is internal to the subdivision. And that concludes staff's recommendation.
All right, we appreciate staff for that recommendation, and I think that she pretty much admit, Ms. Smith, that she was one who was crossing your yard. So, but anyway, we've had staff recommendation. Do we have any objectors? No objectors?
I have a question. She said she recommended deny it. Did she say deny it? I mean, because I was wondering, because there's so many different parts of it, so would that be all of it?
We'll allow her to repeat what she said again to make sure you all agree before we continue on.
Okay.
So the way I'm looking at it is for the portion of the yard that fronts on Breeze Hill, the Breeze Hill side of things, from the front plane, which is right there, the roof, where the bay window on the front, you go straight out to the street. That plane back, you can have a 6-foot tall fence, okay? Where you kind of already have the fence and the variance sign.
Okay.
And then from that front plane forward on Breeze Hill, you would go forward up to 4 feet, which you already have. So that's that particular portion of it. So we're essentially allowing you that front setback, that Breeze Hill, to not be really considered like a front setback, more like a side setback.
Okay.
So we're going to treat it as a side setback. Essentially, that's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
Does that help clarify? Okay. And then that kind of makes, of the 3 items that we broke it down into, Breeze Hill is no longer going to be treated like a front street. We're going to treat it as a side street. So that addresses the increase in the front yard fence height, because that was for the Breeze Hill side only, right? Then on the other one, reduce the side yard setback from 10 feet to 4 feet. Which side is it? Because
That was actually adjacent to the house behind us, where the fence, that's, that one alongside the pole and on the yard
Right.
for the neighbors.
And your intent is not to put a covered garage or patio or anything like that, it's just for the location of the fence?
No, we are planning on having a garage.
You're going to have a garage, and you want the
Inside the
garage to
fence.
be
Inside that fence area.
inside that fenced area, and you're going to access the garage from the driveway on the other side of the house.
Right.
So you want to pull in and turn around, or not turn around, but pull into the backyard.
Right.
So you want that portion of it to be 4 feet. Okay.
Yes, there's already a concrete slab poured that we did not know we needed a permit for either.
Okay. So with that being said, they're looking for the 4 feet still
The
on
4
that
feet.
particular one.
Which side?
For the reduced side yard setback, which is the portion adjacent to the neighbor on Breeze Hill,
Oh, the neighbor likes the fence.
right?
Okay.
Am I saying it wrong?
I think so. If you,
Madam Chair, can I have a clarifying question?
Have a,
Okay,
okay. I'll waive until he finishes.
y'all hold one moment. Let's make sure they're on the same page, the director and
This one right here.
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
said right.
yeah,
Ms. Smith on the.
yeah. It's hard, y'all can't see my paper, but I'm gonna walk over and show it to you.
okay.
Everybody can be on the same page. It ain't on your screen.
No.
All right, so here's where we're talking about. The first part is the Breeze Hill right here. So this is that, we're gonna stop treating that as a front and treat that as a side. And we're gonna leave that just like it is, right off the edge of the right of way, right here. Okay, so that's the first one. The other one is increase the yard fence height from 4 feet to 6 feet. That too is that little segment right here, right? Okay, and now this portion right here is referring to right back here. You wanna be 4 feet off of this property line
Yes, the
instead
inside,
of 10.
yeah, inside there, the concrete slab is already poured.
Yeah.
And it measures 4 feet to that fence. But it's inside the yard, it's inside the fence yard.
So yeah, that's what I was describing. That's why I said sometimes it's easier if you see it.
Okay.
So you want to put the garage like right in this vicinity,
Sort of, yeah,
right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so that's what I've described,
okay.
but it's easier if you see it, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that being said, this is your Breeze Hill portion of it. And then this is the fence height right here, because we were treating that as a front yard. So that's where your height requirement is.
Okay.
So, that's what,
All right.
okay?
Okay.
All right. All right. I'm not sure if a motion was made and started, or,
No,
'cause I
there
think
has not been a
you were
motion.
asking, I thought y'all were
made.
asking
We
if she
was-
agrees.
Yeah, we was, make sure she agreed to staff's recommendations. So do you need to repeat those recommendations again
Sure.
for the record?
All right, so the recommendation, I'm gonna go in the same ordinance as the variances are listed on the front, on page 33. So they don't meet the criteria, but due to the issues with cutting through their yard in order to access the elementary school, staff is recommending approval for security and safety reasons. And in that regard, we would recommend that we grant them their petition as proposed. How's that sound?
All right, thanks, staff. And then we're gonna go, do you agree with staff's recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I think Board Member Miles and Board Member Mooney.
I just want to recommend that we approve the request as presented.
Okay.
I did have a question for staff. Just, so now that we're approving it as proposed, I wanted to make sure, because the fence that's coming off the property does not run in a parallel line with the plane of the house. On this site plan here, it juts out at an angle. Yeah, so that would, if we approve as proposed, then we would not need to worry about the plane of the house, because currently they do have 6-foot fencing that is in front of the plane of the house.
When you drive by it, on paper, it looks like it, but you have like a depth perception when you're coming down the road.
Yeah.
And so it's technically not.
Do we have the aerial footage? Because that photo of the GIS aerial shows that it's sticking out significantly. There you go. Do you see how it shoots straight? It's almost perpendicular to Breeze Hill. It doesn't shoot like a straight. So I just want to make sure if we approve it as proposed, they're good with it as is, because I think that's what we're trying to get to.
From our perspective, there is a slope, there's a slight slope, but more importantly, that line of sight is clear.
Okay.
It's very clear. And the fence was technically already there.
Yeah, I just don't want them to get into an issue of, clarity of the semantics here. So I think if the path is to approve it and they're okay as is, then I would second that as well.
Okay, yeah, because it rounds a little bit if you're looking at number 41, page 41. but when you experience it in the car, it's a different feel than what you see on the paper.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
All right, we had a motion and a second, right? Did I second it? Or did somebody?
We had a motion, Board Member Miles' motion to approve with the staff's recommendation, and then somebody second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, Board Member Mooney seconded. All right, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Oh, okay, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead, Board Member Burgum.
Madam Director, just for me, since I'm kind of dumb, so we're legitimizing the existing fence.
Yes, sir.
That's all we're doing.
Yes.
Sorry, Madam Chair, point of clarification on that, because if that's all we're doing, then we wouldn't be approving the
There's the
setbacks for
garage
the-
component.
Correct. Are
So
we
that
approving
gets
the garage
encompassed
component?
with it. So if you, yes, it was part of,
It was part of the
presentation.
recommendation.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any problems with the fact that the garage has a floor already poured that hasn't been inspected by no engineer or anything like that?
They're going to pull their permit. They'll have to pull a permit depending on the size of it.
Not going to be any increased size in the
No, they're not, they're nowhere near touching the requirement for the accessory structure size. Yes, sir.
All right, it has been motion and second to approve this variance request with staff's recommendation. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, you have your approval.
Thank you for your time.
With staff recommendation, thanks. Have a great day. Your letter go in the mail to you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, do we have any legal issues?
Samuel Miller, Law Department, nothing for the legal session.
All right, now we're going to go to the election of our 2025 Board of Zoning Appeals Chairperson and Vice Chairperson. And I would say this before we go to the election, it has been truly an honor and a privilege to serve with such esteemed board members here for the Board of Zoning Appeals. I have served 2 years, and I tell you what, it has been a tremendous learning experience, and it's just great to, like I say, work with such amazing people to be able to collaborate, to be able to move this city forward. So, and also we have Dr. L.C. Miles. He will be going out. Of course, he will be sworn in as a state representative come January. So we appreciate Dr. Miles and all that he has done to serve. And Board Member Moore had to leave, so I'm going to ask Board Member Miles, do he have anything to say, since this will be his last meeting with us, and then we'll move forward to the election.
Well, good afternoon. I really appreciate the opportunity to serve. I mean, I'm really disappointed that I'm not going to be able to serve anymore, because I really, the information and the people on the board here, I really enjoy serving with you guys, and the amount of knowledge that you have about me has increased my knowledge about zoning and ordinances, and I appreciate that. And I like I said, I wish that I could continue to serve with you guys, but I'm going to be serving you in another capacity. And hopefully that you will be, encourage you to call me and get with me on anything that I could possibly help you with to move the city forward. That's what I'm here for. So I'd appreciate all of that. And, you know, I just want to make sure that we get somebody else here to replace me that's going to continue to do what you guys are doing. Y'all do a great service, and I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dr. Miles. All right, the election of chairperson and vice chairperson.
We're going to open the floor for nominations.
Nominations, yeah,
For the chair.
for the chair.
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Mr. Mooney.
All right, Board Member Broom has nominated Mr. Mooney for chair.
Any other nominations?
Any other nominations?
All nominations have to present at the same time.
All right. She said she good with it. All right, so we can go ahead and,
So we're going to close the nomination.
all right, let's vote on it then. Mr. Mooney is chairperson. All in favor? Aye.
Congratulations, Mr.
I
Moon.
do, thanks.
All right.
He was voluntold. He didn't have to accept.
All right, Mr. Mooney will be the chairperson for the year 2025 Board of Zoning Appeals. Now, we need to take nominations for the vice chairperson. And also let them know on the phone if they have a one, okay, because I can't hear them from up here.
Madam Chairman,
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to nominate Mr. Forrest.
All right, Board Member Brigham has nominated Mr. Forrest for vice chairperson. All right, they're good.
Move nominations be closed.
He say he's good. All right, we have vice chairperson, Mr. Forrest. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have Mr. Mooney as the chairperson, and the vice chair will be Mr. Forrest. All right, once again, it has been a pleasure serving. You all have a great day. Meeting adjourned.
All right.